you should come with questions, and don't make them like what language do you use, like things that you can find online. Like try to come up with something a little more unique or maybe like personal about the interviewer. Sometimes like improvise, like often the person will introduce themselves. So like make a note of that like on a piece of paper, and then try to come up with a question about their job that you can ask them later. I've always brought like a notebook with me to interviews, both so I could line up questions beforehand, and so that when they were answering them, I could write them down. Both so I could refer back to it later, and also so I could appear that I was interested.
So you weren't at all, you didn't worry about bringing a notebook in. You think that's a good idea?
I think that it made me stand out because I was one of the few people who cared enough to bring a notebook down to write down answers.
It's also a great way to sort of make yourself a one-page cheat sheet before you go in. So any interview that I've been into, they don't have a problem with you having a notebook. They also don't have a problem with you having some written out things ahead of time. So for example, if I'm going into a company and they told me who my interviewer was ahead of time, so I know that it's going to be Jane Doe, and she really has a great background in natural language processing. So I want to strike up a conversation about that because I'm interested, or have some of those kind of comments.
During your final semester at Olin, you both taught data structures and algorithms. How is it that students are teaching students?
That class was a really awesome collaboration. So the way that came about is we were talking about software interviews with a couple other students in our class and talking about how Olin does a really great job preparing us for the project side and all of these different things once we get into the internships, but we were having a hard time preparing for some of the more hardcore algorithms, and we were doing a lot of this on our own. So we wanted to pool resources and be able to share this with people in other classes. So that led to the creation of this class, Data Structures and Algorithms, that I recommend everyone take, obviously. But it's really an overview of a lot of the core software skills that you need, search algorithms, a lot of different toolbox kind of structures that you need in order to go into an interview with confidence.
The students running the class are less instructors, and it's more like I would say like a learning community where basically everyone is just trying to like help each other. And so like the instructors are people who might have like a little bit more experience, but basically everyone is there to collaborate and learn together. And so once you sort of like once you like frame an instructor in that mindset, then student-led classes actually make a lot of sense.
It's really great for confidence for the student instructors because going into that class, I had done software interviews and things like that before, but teaching something really makes you solidify that skill. You can explain things better, and it gives you the confidence to go forward and saying, I really know this thing.
So Katie, you're going into a great big company, IBM,
Yes.
and you were there last summer. Tell us how you looked around the company to try to figure out what was the best spot for you within the company.
Yes.
How did you use your internship to do that?
Yes. So I was really lucky to have a great manager who taught me a lot about this. I had really undervalued networking before this past summer. And so my manager told me that 20% of my job while I was there for the summer should be networking and looking around and trying to place myself in this company. Because that's the value that they get out of interns, right? They want you to come along and be a full-time position. So I spent a lot of my time talking to people in a lot of different areas that include people on site, people thousands of miles away that I was able to get on conference calls with, and just sort of seeing what part of the company I thought I would fit in with. And that led into a lot of great conversations around what are the best sort of teams like, who might I want to work with. And what was great is I didn't even really have to force those conversations. I focused on going into these talks with a mindset of asking a lot of questions and learning as much as possible. And then when people saw a good fit, it sort of converted into more of an interview format where we started talking about potential opportunities. So it worked out quite well.